Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rock Squad podcast, your destination for the latest in rock music news, reviews, and discussion. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Nick Chino, and I'm joined by my co-host and bandmate, it's Dave Marini. How's it going, Dave?
Hey, buddy, how's it going? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Rock Squad pod. Now, remember to follow us on Instagram, to follow us on Twitter, Rock Squad Podcast. Also, before we get going, make sure you go down there and subscribe to our channel, hit the bell so you get the notifications, and make sure you like the video. And if you got something to say, throw it down below. How's it going, pal?
It's going all right. You know, we were talking about, vaccinations before we got on the air. You got a jab. I'm waiting to get a jab so we can get back to playing rock and roll and, you know, venues can open up. I can't believe I was reading the other day, actually, in California, that they're getting ready to reopen most of their venues. Hollywood Bowl in LA is scheduling an entire summer season of performances. So, you know, at least that's a little bit of a silver lining. It seems like some things are going to get back to normal.
It's crazy, man. You know, California was kind of being viewed as like the super left state that wasn't going to do anything and let all the small businesses die. And now all of a sudden they're like, they have a full calendar of entertainment for everybody. And the rest of the country is like, well, what's happening now? And Florida, like this weekend was WrestleMania. So they had 30,000 people in a football stadium watching grown men covered in oil slam each other. Wow. So I don't know. I have no idea anymore, man. I have no idea. All I know is that the sooner I get fully vaccinated and you get fully vaccinated, then we can be fully vaccinated together and make more music and tour and play and do all that fun stuff. So
yeah, for sure. And well, you know, a lot of bands have been rescheduling their tours. It's hard to really buy into any band saying they're going to get out there and play a show right now. But fingers crossed. I would love to go to a show. I think one of the things that's really hit me over the last little while is how much I miss even just going to a show and going to a concert. I think we talked about that in one of the last episodes. I just miss it so much. And I really didn't realize how much of a emotional release it is to go to shows and play shows as a musician. It's such a huge part of our lives.
It's our church, bro. It's our church, you know? Yeah. And when you're away from church for that long, you feel it. So
yeah, we got to go to church. All right, so let's get to the rundown of today's show. We're going to get to tonight's headliner topic in just a little bit, talking about Dave Grohl. Last week on the show, we mentioned that he has a new book coming out called The Storyteller, and now he's doing even more with a new documentary and a new collaboration. So that's coming up on tonight's headliner topic. But first, we'll get to tonight's opening opening acts. We got new album announcements, Dave. There were quite a few of them this week. The first of which was the Wallflowers, one of my favorite 90s bands. I know they've been operating since then, but they just announced a new album called Exit Wounds on July 9th. Mother, one of our favorite Canadian indie rock bands, is releasing a new album called Inside on June 25th. 21 Pilots releasing a new album called Scaled and Icy on May 21st. And then just today, the Black Keys announced that they have a new album called Delta Cream coming out on May the 14th. Which of these new album announcements have you most excited?
Well, I have a few. Like out of that group. First off, 21 Pilots is a band that I kind of wrote off earlier on in their career, and I wasn't aware of what was going on with them. And then I slowly, you know, a song on a soundtrack here and a song on the radio, like a good single here, and I ended up liking them. I don't know. I'm a sucker for hooky, riffy, poppy songs, and that's kind of their whole thing, is like kind of broken down, simplified rock, and I'm a sucker for it. So I get that band. I think that they are doing new, innovative things in that world of pop rock. And I think if anybody could go check them out, or when they start touring again, definitely go check them out. Now, personally, out of that list, I think that the Wallflowers is the thing that I'm most excited for. I love the Wallflowers forever. Yeah, I love the Wallflowers. I think they're a great band. And it'll be great to hear, like, you know, some new songs from Dylan and Co. And I think, you know, it's interesting. I think Butch Walker is producing that record too.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And Butch Walker's coming off Butch Walker's coming off of doing the Green Day record, the last Green Day record, which a lot of Green Day fans hated, but I actually really liked. I liked that it was like kind of a different foot. I was kind of tired of the American Idiot Green Day vibe that had been floating around for the last couple records.
Mm-hmm.
I needed something different, and some people think it was too different because a lot of the songs kind of don't even sound like Green Day. But I thought it was refreshing, and I'm sure Green Day will come back out with another Green Day-esque album, if not a network album, because I heard they're doing network stuff again too. So, I'm excited for the Wallflowers, man. I think Butch Walker is one of those guys that's really come into his own as a producer over the last like decade or so. Like, obviously he's gone back further than that, but from coming from his band and then morphing into kind of like the power songwriter, writing pop rock songs for female artists and stuff like that. He's really found his groove, and now he's getting a chance to work with some of the biggest bands in the world. And love it or hate it, it's happening. So I'm very interested to see what he's got to bring to the table in in a new format for the Wallflowers in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, with the Wallflowers, I don't think I've really dug into their stuff since Bringing Down the Horse in 1996, which was their breakthrough album, which had all those hits on it. Jakob Dylan obviously is a great songwriter in the tradition of his dad. So I'm excited for it too. I might dig in maybe a little bit to see the music or hear the music that's been made between then and now, just to give myself a little bit more context. But I don't really even think that a lot of the members of the Wallflowers that were in the band initially, when they broke through in the 90s, are still in the group. Like Rami Jaffe.
Is that not the case? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a Wallflowers diehard.
Yeah, we don't know the ins and outs and all the lineup changes.
Is he not like bouncing back and forth? I thought he was.
I don't think so. I was watching a video the other day and he wasn't in it. So I think because he's a full-time member of the Foo Fighters now. So.
Oh shit! Look at that.
Yeah,
well, that's good. That's good for him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Foo Fighters is not a bad gig at all. But the other one, you were saying with 21 Pilots, I really like their last album, Trench, which came out in 2018, I think. And that was a great album. It had Morph on it. It had Levitate. It had The Hype, which was another good song on that. And you were saying soundtrack songs when they did Heathens for the Suicide Squad soundtrack in 2016. That was a big one. And I think I was kind of like you. I don't know if I necessarily wrote them off, but they were one of those names that I would see a lot on the internet. I would read a lot about 21 Pilots. And I did listen a little bit, but it wasn't until that Trench album came out that I really dug in and thought these guys are really, really talented. So I'm totally on the 21 Pilots bandwagon now. Really looking forward to this new album. And the Black Keys, interestingly enough about this new album, is that it's a cover album pretty much of Mississippi Hill country blues legends like R.L. Burnside, Junior Kimbrough, and others. I was a little bit lukewarm with the Black Keys over the last couple of albums. El Camino to me was their last great record. I lost them maybe around the mid 2000s, around the time they put out Turn Blue. And the last record was good too. But I don't know. I feel like the Black Keys might not be at the top of my list right now when it comes to new releases.
I kind of feel the same with you. I was really into the Black Keys when they first came out because it was a refreshing view of, rock and roll, just a rock and roll band, like a bar rock and roll band. You don't get a lot of those anymore. And, and I've gone to see them a bunch of times. I've probably seen them live 5 or 6 times, just at different festivals and different shows throughout North America. And they're a good band, but they don't innovate enough, I feel, and I have the same hang-ups with like Kings of Leon. I like the band and they have songs that I adore and that I would put on, but album to album, I feel like the innovations kind of, it's not fresh. You got to keep it fresh. And sometimes it takes a band, especially these bands that are lasting like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years, 14, 15 years now. It's hard to stay fresh, but I don't know, man. They just haven't done it for me for the last 2 records. Not to say that there hasn't been a good single here and there, but like full album wise, I haven't really been blown away by anything that's been coming out of that camp. But they are kind of like an on again, off again thing for a while. I feel like when they started to not play with other people, but started to produce other people's records and kind of branch out a little bit more, I feel like the focus maybe wasn't so much on the Black Keys as it was on like just, being musicians and being producers and doing all that. That being said, I'm definitely going to check it out. I think it's a cool idea if it's there is a concept behind an album and it's like kind of a covery thing, kind of that down home Mississippi blues vibe. They already kind of do that anyways, so
Yeah.
it should be interesting to see what they come up with these covers.
I agree about the innovation thing. Yeah, what you were saying with Kings of Leon, their latest album is good, but it sounds lazy. It sounds like there's no energy when it comes to the band. I did a review on the channel if people want to check that out. They still know how to write a good song. I felt maybe like they were a little bit on autopilot on their latest record. And I felt like Black Keys were doing a similar thing on their last couple of records, where it doesn't necessarily have to break the wheel. It doesn't necessarily have to go into a different genre or do something totally far out. But I know what you mean when on each subsequent album, there doesn't seem to be anything that jumps out to you. Maybe that's just us. I'm sure other people out there will have a different opinion. I think the last Black Keys album maybe had some more tracks on it that I liked and I give it credit for. But yeah, I do want to see how this album stacks. It is a little bit different because it's covers, so maybe we shouldn't hold it up to the same standard as some of their other records, but we'll see. It's one of those, I don't really consider the Black Keys to be one of my ride or die bands. They're not one of those bands that I'm going to, follow to the end, but I do follow them album to album, and fingers crossed that this is one that I like.
Rock and roll. New rock and roll is always good. I can't wait to hear anything.
For sure. All right, so let's get to our next opening act topic on this evening's show, and that is Record Store Day. There's going to be 2 Record Store Day drops coming up in the next couple of months. The first one's going to be on June the 12th, and then I believe the next one is on July the 17th, which obviously Record Store Day is a huge day for record collectors out there to go to their local record store and collect these exclusive releases that they can only find on the day of Record Store Day. So Dave, I kind of pulled a couple of highlights, some albums and some titles that stood out to me when I was looking through the list on the Record Store Day website. So let me list them off here for you. And then you let me know which ones are exciting to you. AC/DC is coming out with a picture disc with 2 songs from their most recent record called Power Up. So that should be cool. This one I'm really excited about. Matt Bellamy of Muse is releasing his first physical solo album called Cryo Sleep. We are both pretty big Muse fans, so that one's exciting. Black Sabbath are doing special editions of Mob Rules in Heaven and Hell. Bush, who we are also big fans of, are doing a Sea of Memories 10th anniversary. Sea of Memories, I think, is one of my favorite latter day Bush albums. Had The Sound of Winter on it and some other really good tracks. Linkin Park doing a Meteora blue vinyl. This one's actually really cool. Pearl Jam are doing a 30th anniversary, a live 12-inch single in honor of the 30th anniversary of 10. And then this one also very cool. Rage Against the Machine doing the Battle of Mexico City red and green colored vinyl in honor of the Mexican flag. That's one that I'm very excited about.
That's cool.
Yeah, personally, I've never, even as a huge music fan, I collect vinyl more as a collector's kind of thing, but I've never actually, lined up with other music fans to go to Record Store Day. I'm excited about these releases. I don't know if there's anything that's going to get me out of bed early in the morning on Record Store Day to go stand in line with everybody else. But I still do think these are some cool releases. Are there any that stand out to you?
The Matt Bellamy thing would be interesting. I'm sure it's not going to be him sitting on a pail with an acoustic guitar. So it's probably going to be pretty futuristic. But hey, maybe we'll be surprised and it'll be, the Rage thing sounds awesome. Like, I'm kind of the same with you with vinyl. Like I like collect the vinyl more than it is my primary listening source. Like I know that we play in bands with guys that are vinyl heads that are like, record after record. That's not how I take in vinyls, and I don't know. Yeah, there's a few in there. That Rage thing sounds awesome. Like things like that I can get behind, But
right.
Do you feel like, I'm going to ask you, do you feel that a Record Store Day or records in general, do you think there's an inflated sense of what the value of that is in music right now?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think vinyl is a little bit overhyped. Obviously, it's a classic format. The sound quality is fantastic. We know that. But I think in the age of streaming, vinyl has become a little bit of the anti-streaming model in the way that it's still something that record labels can make a lot of money on. It's still something that they can market the hell out of. Paul McCartney's new release, McCartney 3 Imagined, is coming out on, a billion different colors of vinyl. So it is definitely a way for fans to spend a lot of money on vinyl. But the thing is that I feel like the record industry can't support the vinyl resurgence. There's only a couple of plants in the entire world that can handle the amount of vinyl that is being pressed. And I know a lot of fans get disappointed when they show up, on release day and that their vinyl isn't there, and they get upset about it, or it's, not getting there on time. And I think that the kind of investment in vinyl has been a little bit misguided. If that's the way that you want to, ingest your music, then that's fine. If that's the way that you want to listen. But personally, I look at it as a collector's item. I still primarily listen to CDs. I listen to digital. I have an 80 gig iPod. That is my my absolute favorite thing to listen to music on. So I think that it's a little bit overhyped. I think Record Store Day is a good idea, because anything that gets music fans excited and gets them to the record store to buy records is a good thing, because we know how hard it is for artists to make money on records and to make an income, especially in the age of COVID when they can't tour. But I do think it's a little bit overhyped, and I think that people are expecting a little bit too much from the whole vinyl resurgence.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's bizarre to me. It seems like the same old. You're dealing with record labels that are looking at their vintage catalogs and their older catalogs, the legacy catalogs, as they call them, where you're dealing with bands that are still, like the Zeppelins. Yeah, the Zeppelins and the Rushes and the AC/DCs. And because if you look at the numbers, I'm sure you'll be able to back me up on this. Like, if you look at what's being sold, like 99% of it is reissue and this, and exactly. The deluxe editions or the thing. So very, like, as much as we want to, we obviously want to support record stores and support local artists and independent artists and stuff. The big business of vinyl right now isn't from the band selling 1,000 or 2,000 or 15,000 records, which is not happening very often on independent circuits, but it's more the established. They're selling vinyl to the guy that had the vinyl in '72 and had the 8-track and also had the cassette and also had the CD, and now they're reselling him, or selling his wife the the Back in Black collector's edition 25, 35 years later. Right. So it's, obviously anytime it's music and you're buying art, I'm 100% support it. But I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a smoke and mirrors thing where people view like vinyl's the savior of music, and it's not. It's really just reestablishing the last little bit of chum in the water for the fans from the labels. And I do, but like I said, like what you were saying, I am a fan of it as a collector's item, and I think people do find value in that. Everybody likes the sleeves. Everybody likes the liner notes. Like I am a fan of the package of art. So in that sense, I love it. And you definitely should buy records from all sorts of people. But the business in general seems to be directed around that 1% of artists that are, reissuing.
Right. Well, that's the huge thing, is catalog reissues. And I think I would have a little bit more interest in the Record Store Day releases if I was getting something new or something different, because a lot of these records contain things that we've already heard, and you don't really see any artists doing something like putting out an exclusive B-side or an exclusive EP of tracks that you couldn't get anywhere else, maybe not even on streaming or on a digital download or anything like that. I'm a little bit of an old school music fan like you. I think back to the days of the 90s when bands would put out a single, especially in the UK. I'm going to use Oasis as an example. They would put out records or CDs, singles with 3 or 4 B-sides on it that you couldn't get anywhere else. They weren't on the album. They weren't on anything else other than these singles. And I think artists have lost the ability to hold back some tracks, or maybe produce some extra music that they can use to put on these Record Store Day exclusives. Maybe they feel that it's a little bit of a waste of time to put something that exclusive on something that is that hard to find, and is that there's a chance that fans might be disappointed that they can't get access to it. I know I would, but as a music fan, I feel like I would definitely be a little bit more interested and maybe a little bit more motivated to get up on Record Store Day and line up with everybody else to get those RSD exclusives. But as of right now, looking at this list, it's not really doing much for me.
Yeah, you don't, as an artist, like I agree with what you're saying about like throwing on the extra B-sides and stuff.
Yeah, make it different.
Like we write songs all the time, but like the thing with as the artist side is like you don't want to burn songs, right? You don't want to just like if you love a song, you don't want to just make it a throwaway, which essentially it would be. But to the fan, it's everything. So it's a double-edged sword,
Yeah, Oasis threw some of their best songs on their singles as B-sides. The songs that would have been gigantic hits on their own were not necessarily buried, but they were featured as secondary tracks. So if anybody ever wants to listen to the best B-sides ever, I think Oasis, just as a way to throw Oasis in there. That's always my reason to talk about Oasis. All right, so those are our opening. Those are our opening act topics for this week. Let's get to this week's headliner. Last week on the Rock Squad podcast, we were mentioning that Dave Grohl has a new book coming out called The Storyteller. Foo Fighters just put out their new album, Medicine at Midnight, in February. But evidently, that is not enough for Dave Grohl, because there are two more things that he has added to his list. One is the documentary that he's putting out called What Drives Us, which is about musicians and life on the road and their stories and their kind of their ethos about being musicians on the road. Very special to Dave Grohl's heart, because he talks about his early days of hopping in a van and going on tour with bands, and his entire career being on the road. So he announced that. We saw a little trailer online, and then he's collaborated with Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones on a new song that is very pandemic appropriate. It's called Eazy Sleazy. It's a cool song, maybe a little bit.
Of course it is.
Eazy Sleazy is cheesy, maybe because Mick Jagger is being very obvious in his lyrical content related to being in lockdown and being in the pandemic. It's kind of similar to a song the Rolling Stones did last year, which I don't think it was a Record Store thing, but they did a song called Living in a Ghost Town, which was similar in the way that it was a little bit in your face, a little bit obvious when it came to the lyrical content. But this documentary looks cool. What Drives Us, it looks like he's going to be interviewing a lot of different people in rock, including Flea and some other people. I don't know if you remember them a little better than I do, but are you excited for this new documentary? Dave Grohl seems to be all about documentaries these days.
Yeah, of course. Like, What Drives Us, it's about bands and starting out and being in a van, and we know all about that. We love hearing stories about bands and vans and conquering the world and how far you get and how far from home you are. And, I think it's great.
Stories.
It's actually very similar. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Brian Johnson from AC/DC has a show out right now.
Yeah, I saw the episode with Dave Grohl
or something. Yeah, he had one with Dave Grohl too, and it's kind of just the tip of the iceberg of that kind of what a documentary could be. Him talking to people about the beginnings of the bands and stuff. So it's kind of in the same vein as that, and that show's fantastic too. So if you haven't checked that out, absolutely go check that out. Yeah. But yeah, Dave Grohl, like we were just talking, he never stops. There's always something else coming out, something else to talk about. And this, first he's got a book, now he's got last week he's got a book, this week he's got a documentary and a song with Mick Jagger. Like, give it a fucking break, Al.
Yeah, I know. Making the rest of us look bad. Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, you're already in two of the best rock bands of all time. I kind of feel like he's pissed. Did they get snubbed for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I think the voting is still going on. I don't think they announced the final nominations.
Because I checked a little while ago, and they were not in the top 5, top 6, they were low down on the list.
Yeah,
so I feel like I feel like it's like a little bit of like, we're not done yet. Let's get this going. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about it. The song itself, there's tons of people. Everyone's in it. I think like Ringo Starr's in it. Like all sorts of crazy people are in that the documentary. It'll definitely be interesting, you know, to hear about Sabbath's early days and stuff like that. But
Right.
and then the song with Mick Jagger, yeah, like do a song with Mick Jagger. Like you said, it's a little sleazy, cheesy, and I what are we expecting though? You know what I mean? Like Dave Grohl's going to make a song with him because he wants to make a song with Mick Jagger. Not, it doesn't really matter how it turns out. And it feels like it's a little recycled. The song. It feels like there's some signature Stones slash Mick Jagger vibes in certain parts that are like kind of like
Right.
trademark like licks or just not even licks, kind of like just progressions. It seems like there's just like a weird thing where you want to strut around with your arms back and your lips out. I don't know what it is, but if that's what they were going to capture, which they probably were, they 100% knocked it out of the park. But like you said though, the lyrical content's a little bit hammy on it. But I would do it. You would do it. If anybody called and said, "Hey, you want to make a song with Mick Jagger," we would be jumping at the chance. So good for Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
We're all very jealous.
Yeah. Do you think Dave Grohl has like a chart, and it's a chart of every famous rock musician ever, right? And so he's just checking it off because he's worked with every classic rock musician ever. He's worked with Paul McCartney, he's worked with Mick Jagger, he's worked with Led Zeppelin, he's worked with Queen. He's basically worked with everybody. So I feel like he's collecting them. He's like, I'm going to collect all these classic rock musicians that I idolized growing up, and I'm going to make music with them. It's like a collection. It's like his little black book of classic rock musicians. That's what it feels like he's doing.
It's pretty cool, you know. If I had my black book and I could skim through and pull out names like that, you know, everybody would be jumping all over it. So Dave Grohl's had lots of success with documentaries like the Sonic Highways one, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. There's obviously so many stories from so many bands. Like I know U2's in there. Like, you know, just hearing stories about Bono and Edge, you know, riding around the UK trying to find record deals, and you know, like and we can relate. You know, we've slept in vans, we've toured, we've, you know,
Right.
it's been our home, so we know what it feels like to be, you know, a group of guys on a caravan, and you know, you're in the circus, and you know, you take care of each other and you look after each other, and then you make it home safe, hopefully, you
Right.
know. So it'll be interesting to hear these guys that we all idolize talking about, you know, cleaning their underwear in rivers and making rice on the engine of their car. You know?
Well, the thing with, like we were saying last week with this book that's coming out, The Storyteller, you know, when he did Sound City, and then with this new documentary, is that Dave Grohl seems to be really into the mythologizing. I don't know if that's the right word, mythologizing of the rock and roll lifestyle. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but sometimes it just comes across a little bit very Dave Grohl, that he's very much embraced the, like I said, the mythological aspects of being in a band, where that be like in the recording studio or on the road, and these stories of him doing these things. Not to say that he's not speaking from a place that's very, you know, very true to him, is very real to him, but I feel like there are a lot of those musicians out there that can relate to those kind of stories. I feel like, not to say that he's making it all about him, but it might be a little bit more universal than he thinks. I know he's just speaking from his own experience, but he's very into now kind of apologizing his entire rock and roll career that he's had. And I'm saying that with complete love for Dave Grohl and everything that he's done, because as we've said, we are gigantic Foo Fighters fans and Dave Grohl fans, because, you know, we worship the ground he walks on. But it does sometimes grate on me a little bit when he gets so into his own story.
Yeah, man. It's you know, we can look at it in a couple different ways. You know, where we could be like, okay, another Dave Grohl thing, or we could be like, thank God the guy that has access to these people and that has these stories is willing to share them. Because I'm sure David Bowie's got a treasure chest full of things that no one's ever going to fucking hear about.
Yeah.
So as a fan, and also he's in a weird spot where he watched what happens in the aftermath of the stardom that goes away, right? Like he watched what happened to his friend, like Kurt's estate, and how fans he's watched that juggling act over the last 25 years of trying to keep fans happy and still honor the legacy of someone that everyone loves. And I think, as he's getting older, I think he's realizing, like, if it's going to be like that anyways, I would like to be the one curating what people are going to see and how they're viewing me. And in that sense, I totally get it, man. Like he's a once in a lifetime situation guy, and he's made the best of his situation and had heartache and all sorts of drama through his life. So if he comes out the other side of it and he wants to overshare to compensate for the fact that he knows that one day he won't be able to, then let's just appreciate everything we get, because at one time in our life that may not be around,
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at it from a very cynical angle. Even as a fan, I'm going to read the book. I'm going to watch the documentary. I still enjoyed the song that he did with Mick Jagger. And yeah, the guy just doesn't know how to stop, because we've gotten so many things from him over the last couple of months, at least. The new Foo Fighters album, Medicine at Midnight, is still one of I think one of the best records of the year so far. One of the best Foo Fighters records in a long time. This past week, Wasting Light, which was their 7th studio album that came out in 2011, celebrated 10 years. And I was thinking back to when that record came out. That was such a huge record for them, because we all know that their early stuff is among, the most favored by fans. The debut record, The Color and the Shape, There's Nothing Left to Lose. One by One, I would go up to In Your Honor saying that those are, some of their best records. But then when they did Wasting Light in 2011, that was a revelation, when you had songs like Bridge Burning and Rope, Arlandria, the list goes on, White Limo, the list goes on and on. I was thinking about that record. That was just fantastic. Love Wasting Light.
I think they really jumped into their shirt off rock stage. It seemed like they were doing a lot more with Lemmy from Motorhead. And that album's a total beer can crushing album.
That's a good way to describe
beers, crushing them, throwing them, drinking beers. Yeah, man. And I was lucky enough to see them on a bunch of shows on that tour, and it was amazing. It was amazing. That whole time in that band was stellar, and it's great. Great album. Great album. I agree. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. So it's all about Dave Grohl. Who knows what he's going to bring to us next week? He's probably going to. I heard a rumor, and I know this is probably complete BS, but I heard a rumor online that the Foo Fighters were working on some sort of horror film. I don't think that's true, because they just announced this new documentary, so I'm sure that's the primary focus. But I heard a rumor about that. I think I read it on NME.com or something like that. Probably not true, but still could be cool. And I wouldn't be surprised if next week they're like, "Yeah, we got a horror movie coming out." So
I wouldn't be surprised either. And I'm gonna say the same thing. Let's see how it goes.
We'll see what happens. Who knows?
We'll see what happens.
It's giving us content to talk about the show, because 2 weeks in a row we're talking about Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. I feel like we would be anyways, because obviously we're huge fans, but it gives us something to talk about.
Sure, man.
That's what we're here for. All right. So those are our opening acts and headliner for the week. A couple of big rock releases coming out this week. Greta Van Fleet with their next album, The Battle at Garden's Gate. The Offspring with their new album, Let the Bad Times Roll. And Paul McCartney coming out with a kind of a remix album of his McCartney 3 record that came out at the end of last year called McCartney 3 Imagined. So we'll be doing some rock album reviews for that on the channel.
Sweet.
Dave, I don't want to prejudge the Greta Van Fleet record, because I know that's going to make a lot of people mad, and I'm going to try to go into it with open ears and an open heart, because I want to give it a chance and I want to like it. But we'll see how it goes. Are you excited for Greta Van Fleet or Offspring or McCartney?
Listen, man, I'm gonna do what you do. I'm gonna light a candle. I'm gonna have a glass of wine. I'm gonna put on my bedazzled jacket and my flared flower bell bottoms that I found at my grandmother's house, and I'm gonna give it a shot. But I'm not making any promises, Nick. I can't promise you anything, but I will take it in. I'll have a meal and some wine and listen to it. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say in your rock album review.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I can't guarantee anything either. I hope that I like it. I hope that I still come out of it alive, because Greta Van Fleet fans are serious, man. Serious.
Yeah, you're gonna like it even if you don't, pal.
Yeah,
all right?
yeah, for sure. 9 out of 10, no matter what. 10 out of 10. I'll even go that far. Just leave me alone. All right, so that's coming up on the rock album review. All right, we're gonna wrap things up, but first we're gonna get to our tracks of the week, where we make some recommendations of stuff that we've been listening to in the rock music world over the past week. I'll go first this time. Dave, sure. Thanks to the Spotify algorithm and recommendations. I listened to a new band, new to me, not new to a lot of other people, but they've been around for a long time. They're called The Dangerous Summer. They're out of Maryland. Very cool band, kind of alt rock stuff that is right up our alley. They have a song that's from their most recent EP that came out last year called All That Is Left of the Blue Sky. The song's called Fuck Them All. It popped up in my feed while I was listening to some stuff on Spotify, and I love it. This new EP is really cool. I'm looking forward to digging into a little bit more of their past stuff, but that is my recommendation for the week. I read online that they have a little bit of a Third Eye Blind influence, and you can definitely hear that in there, so you can see why I would like them. So yeah, the song's called Fuck Them All by The Dangerous Summer. That's my track of the week. Do you want to make a recommendation as well?
Yeah, man. I think I'm going to keep with the theme of Dave Grohl, since he's been owning all the podcasts. Nice. And I'm my recommendation, I checked it out the other day and I haven't listened to it in years, is the song In Your Honor by the Foo Fighters from the album In Your Honor.
Nice.
Double disc. It's a great opening track.
Wow.
You can't go wrong. Loud guitars, loud drums, great record front to back. So that's my pick, is In Your Honor. Also, before we wrap up here, make sure that you everybody out in internet land, that you go check us out on Instagram and Twitter at the Rock Squad Podcast. Also, you can check me out at Red Coast Records on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. What do you got left, Nick? You got anything on there?
Yeah, you can follow me at the Walking Nick. Yeah, make sure to check us out here on YouTube if you want to listen to an audio version of the podcast. Like Dave said, we are on pretty much everything. I think we're still working on the Apple Podcast thing, but we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Anchor. So make sure to check us out there. Yeah, follow me at the Walking Nick, and you can follow us as well as our music at Fools Union. We're at foolsunion.com. We're on Spotify. We're on all the major streaming platforms. Working on a new song. We have a mix that we're working on right now, which has been fun. Dave, we've never experienced that, where we're working on a mix through Zoom, through Facebook chat. But I'm excited. I think there's something cool in these new songs that we're working on. I know, people have not heard them yet, but they're cool. I like them.
Yeah, mixing in 2021 during pandemic is like landing a plane with somebody that's never flown. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, what about this?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Autopilot. Let's see what. So yeah, hopefully we get that worked out soon. I'm sure we will. John's on it, so we'll. I'm sure it'll all work out. But yeah, man, lots of things going on, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see you guys next week on the Rock Squad Podcast. Rock on, Dave.
Rock on, Nick.
See you guys.